We have so many dysfunctional relationships in America. It's a little bit farther than in Australia because we've got an average of 60% of all boys and girls grow up in a home without a father.
What is your advice for the man in a relationship who learns about a childhood trauma? Let's say it might be sexual abuse. What is the best way for him to handle himself to get the best out of his wife?
When my daughter Lauren was 6 years old, we were at a resort, and it was a very safe place so she could wander around freely. And somehow it came up in a conversation that, where she probably was bragging. My dad wrote, "Men are from Mars, women are from Venus." She was very proud of me, and I was very famous at the time. And this woman heard little Lauren say this and said, "Well, your father..."
John Gray, I have a confession to make to start off with. I'm a bit unsure about how to structure this. Last night, my wife and I were re-watching the incredible 2-hour interview that we did with you 3 years ago. And in part of the YouTube video, you were talking about sucking on nipples and making love. And I will confess that in the middle of research for Dr. John Gray, we made love. And it was magical. I just want to thank you for that. That's the impact. And I did pause it, by the way. We didn't keep playing it in the background.
Very good, very good. Well, people have to watch that 2-hour talk. When you told me our last interview was 2 hours, I said, "Oh, I must have gotten into sex." I don't always get right into sex. You need to foreplay before you have the sex. But for those that are interested, they should go back to that interview, and we'll cover more updated things, but we won't talk great details about that.
We'll link that.
I will say, though, that we're talking about hormones today, and sucking on nipples, if it's pleasurable for a woman at the right timing, is a major oxytocin producer for her, and allows her estrogen levels to go up, which is the optimal state for women. You can you can be as a woman, you can be in the perfect relationship, but if you have issues from your childhood where you weren't safe, what's interesting is if you're making love and you're sucking on nipples, what happens is so much oxytocin gets produced. Women are biologically designed, when you suck on the nipple, to make oxytocin, and it can bring up such feelings of safety that memories will come up where you weren't safe, and you want to allow that to happen. I do a fun thing with my couples where women do have stuff come up in making love, because when you feel safe, then the memories of when you were safe and the safety was lost, the loss of safety, it comes up, and so it can create a resistance to receiving. So let me give a little example of that. When I was first learning about oxytocin with my wife Bonnie, so I read somewhere that if you give a 6-second hug, non-sexual 6-second hug, it will raise a woman's oxytocin levels. Now, when oxytocin goes up, she will start to feel safe. Well, if you don't feel safe, and then suddenly you start feeling safe, what's going to come up is it really true? I can be safe? So your resistance to safety will come up, because biologically your body's telling you can be safe, but your mind might be saying, "I'm not safe." So here's an example of that, so it's not so intellectual. So I'm giving my wife this. She was kind of grumpy that day, irritated, annoyed about something. I didn't know what, but I just went over and gave her a hug, and we practice hugs, a 6-7 second hug. And then she was sort of stiff in the beginning. After about 5-6 seconds, she sort of softened. And then I gave her a little squeeze, and we're done with the hug. And she shared with me, she said, "John, when you started that hug, it made me start thinking of what I'm annoyed with you about. But then just a few seconds later, I started realizing, well, yeah, he doesn't do that and that, but he does this and this, and that's good." So it's a balancing thing that women, the way they process, it's not the way men process as much, but it's they need to feel their complaint, but then that will balance off and go to the other polarity, which is, yeah, but he also does this and this and this. And part of the thing when I'm teaching couples, how important it is for women to be able to share complaints, not necessarily about their partner, but complaints about their life. If she can just share the emotions associated with things like frustration or disappointment our worries and concerns and fears, our feelings of embarrassment or even guilt about things that happen during the day. And he tells the man, this is a biohack. If he just says, that's just going to be 10 minutes, I'm going to share my complaints and my frustrations. You can do that. I share my frustrations and other emotions. But towards the end, I'm going to feel really good and grateful that you listened. Then a man just listens and you get the understanding. Because if I don't have that understanding that she just needs to share, if she shares anything, frustration, disappointment, concerns, and worries, I'm a man who doesn't understand women instinctively. So I'm going to say, don't worry. It's not a big deal. It's not a problem. You know, that's just the way things are. You have to accept it. We're going to give some kind of mechanism that will suppress the emotion, because that's what we do as men. And unlike what they teach you in psychology, it's very, very healthy for men to do that. We should never indulge in expressing our complaints unless we're making jokes about it, which is what men do. We make light about things, or we rationalize things, or we minimize things, or we say, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's water under the bridge, no big deal. These are mechanisms that men who are we might call them connected to their masculine energy. That's what we do. And why do we do it? Because it raises testosterone. Anytime you analyze a situation and don't end up feeling powerless, but you go, hey, there's nothing I can do about it. So that's what it is. Acceptance, reality, no problem, minimize. It's when you challenge your negative emotions with using those rationalizations, what happens then is while you're doing that, your testosterone goes up. And when your testosterone goes up, your stress level goes down and you're not upset. But for women, for their the estrogen has to go up. If their estrogen goes up, their stress levels go down. Women need to make 10 times more estrogen. Otherwise, they'll experience stress, 10 times more than a man makes. And when you're feeling stressed, you're out of balance. Anytime you're stressed, you're not seeing reality. See, none of us, if we're stressed, we're missing some clear picture. Our brain is either hyper-focused or hyper-expanded. Men will tend to hyper-focus on one thing. Women will tend to bring in more things. Again, another difference. But these are stress hormones. Now, stress hormones, they inhibit blood flow to the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And as a result, the brain goes into a bias of focusing on negativity. And if you're focusing on negativity, you feel threatened, and so you'll continue to have negative emotions rather than being able to talk about them from a perspective of, I just need to share this and I'll feel better. We don't have to solve the problem. So ironically, it's that, in the beginning with Mars Venus, I was telling men, you don't have to solve the problem, you have to listen. But we also have to tell women, don't look to him to solve the problem, because if you're complaining to him about him, you're wanting him to solve the problem by changing. So don't do that. Do it about other things. And that's a training. This is all retrain our brain because there's always sources of stress everywhere. And if you give yourself the awareness of looking at it. But, if you grew up in an environment where it wasn't safe to be feminine as a little girl, for example, then you learn to be more guarded and more realistic, more rational, more minimizing, or feeling just not deserving of expressing what you feel. So expressing what you feel is very, very important as a biohack to raise estrogen for women, lower their stress levels. Also, asking for help is a really powerful biohack. When you ask for help, you have to produce a lot of estrogen. Your body will make a lot of estrogen if you're asking for help with the assurance that the person you're asking help from is going to give it to you. So one of the biggest estrogen producers is when women go see a doctor, if they believe in their doctor. And now, I don't know how many people can believe in doctors anymore. So it's not going to be such a stress reducer. You should question whatever they say. But now that's one thing. But typically, though, when a woman trusts her doctor, it's a big estrogen producer and stress lowering experience. Now, for men, typically, men don't go to the doctor as much until we realize, okay, this is a big problem. I have to go to the doctor. because he actually feels powerless. His male side says, okay, I don't have a solution, so I'm going to go find somebody with the solution. And then my testosterone will go up because I'm acknowledging I need help on this and I found the right person. Okay, so being right produces testosterone. But when a woman can go to a therapist and talk about her feelings and share with the therapist, her estrogen will go up. So a lot of counselors will see the couple together every time. And I don't recommend that because basically women should have the freedom in counseling to be able to say things that they can take back and say, yeah, I hate him, but no, I really love him. He was like this. I was disgusted, but I know I love him too. So she needs to be able to feel safe to reveal what is actually happening in her reactive body, which often is, I hate him. It's disgusting. I can't get what I want. I do so much. There's a victim side of every woman that needs permission to come out for a little while, because estrogen is produced when you're saying someone did something good for me, estrogen goes up. Someone did something not good for me, estrogen goes up. But the challenge there is when, what I do in my counseling, for example, is I always see the woman alone first, so I know what's going on. Because ultimately, the woman's happy, the man will be happy. You got a happy woman, the man will be his best self and become better and better. But how to help her find the higher estrogen levels to feel safe, sometimes to feel safe, resistance to safety will come up, and that's frustration, disappointments, concerns. And what I'll do with women is help them hear what they feel and then help them see that those reactivities are overreactions in every case. Now, people don't like me to say that, but in my opinion, in my experience, all negativity that comes up is an overreaction. Okay? It's because, what's my experience as a therapist is when people are upset and I can get them to talk and understand the situation differently, they no longer have that reaction. They find forgiveness. So the forgiveness is there and the ease and the peace is there. I just counseled a woman who I did therapy with her, and she's anxious and she's depressed and she's got big problems. And I said, well, let's not try to solve the problems. Let me just do a little therapy on you and get you to express how you feel. And then bring the feelings back to when we were really most vulnerable, as childhood experiences. It takes a good therapist to train women to do this. But 90% of anything that upsets you in present time is your childhood. Okay, when we are children, we are totally at effect. Even males, if a man has a lot of emotional upset, it's more about his childhood. Because when we're children, even boys have the same estrogen levels as girls. We're all pretty much the same. The brain is different. The first 2 years in a boy, his body makes adult levels of testosterone, 10 times more testosterone than he will when he's 3 years old. So the first 2 years outside the womb, he is making a lot of testosterone to build the brain. Then testosterone goes down and his estrogen levels are like a little girl's. He's just like a little girl, and he doesn't, but his brain is different, so he still has the same sensitivities. But, there's a big thing they say in psychology. Oh, men who are dysfunctional or men who can't be intimate, or we project so much on what men can't do, but in the right situation, they can do it. With the right knowledge or the right partner, you see a man blossoms. But when men don't blossom in a relationship, they always say, oh, he didn't get to cry when he was a little boy. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The reason men get messed up is they didn't have happy mothers and fathers. They're emotionally abandoned by their mothers and fathers. And if father is gone and mother's not happy, then little boy feels enormous pressure to make mother happy. And so he doesn't get to be a child where he gets to be a child, not responsible for mother's happiness. So that's the dynamic. We have so many dysfunctional relationships in America. It's a little bit farther than in Australia, because we've got an average of 60% of all boys and girls grow up in a home without a father. So, so many women go, what do I need a man for? Well, you never had a man in your life. You never had a mother who understood that what you can get out of a man, didn't know how to get that out of a man. Anybody who has a business knows that you got to train people how to do the job, and you need role models who can show you how to do it. Okay, well, if there's no father there, there's nobody showing that boy or girl, showing the girl what you can get out of a man. Your mother doesn't know how to get it out of him, and a little boy doesn't even know it's there to have come out of him. So, we're in a real tough place due to all this dissatisfaction in relationships due to a lack of skills for making relationships work. And why do we need a new set of skills, a new understanding of men and women? Why do we need that? Well, we need that because women have, as soon as birth control came in, women were like happy to have sex with men. They couldn't wait to have sex because you could have a child. Okay, so there's consequences. So you have to respect me as a woman before you have sex with me. So men understood you have to have a job, you have to bathe, you have to behave, you have to be responsible, reliant. Otherwise, a woman won't have sex with you. Because this is the biggest drive inside of men that creates change. If you have to prove yourself and earn your way in, just like to survive, men, you have to earn. And if you don't, if you look at the most, not all, but the most dysfunctional males either didn't have a father, they're not responsible, can't make money. Okay, they're going to be your dysfunctional ones. But then you've got the other side of the string, which is the man who doesn't have to make money. If he doesn't have to make money, in the old days, there's books written about these. These are boys that grew into men who had wealthy fathers. We're talking about these big wealthy fathers. They became what's called playboys. A playboy can't commit to one woman. He can't follow through. He wants to do what he likes. So he likes lots of girls. He likes lots of sex. He likes getting angry. He's king. He can, and if you look at his hormones, his testosterone is weak because he didn't earn the money, and he didn't have to earn a woman's love because he had so much money. Women went, oh, security, and then he mistreats her. And also, it's like the freedom to do what you like is your female side, to be who you like, do what you like, to have support, to ask for help. That's all estrogen producing. So another biohack there is for women to produce more hormones, more estrogen. And I feel a little guilty just continuing on. Any questions so far? I know you said just let me go, but I want to hear some questions from you.
No, well, this is why we love having you on, John.
Here's the second biohack.
Well, but
Okay.
before you get to that, I think this ties in, really well to my next question. And it's along the lines, we mentioned pre-record about the 20 miscarriages, and we talk about this stuff publicly on interviews. It holds no dominion. The reason we do is because we've seen the power of vulnerability and helping other couples that have had less than us, which is just about everyone we've ever met. But my question, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, John, is what is your advice for the man in a relationship who learns about a childhood trauma? Let's say it might be sexual abuse. What is the best way for him to handle himself to get the best out of his wife?
He's had sexual abuse, or she's had sexual abuse?
She did.
I did. And that was the reason for all these miscarriages.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. Okay, there's no question in my mind. Okay, that's a lack of safety. That's why I'm emphasizing the biohacks, and this will help. The deeper level is a good therapist could help you with this. I don't know if you have a good therapist, but I also can teach you how to do this in my books. There's a book I have which is called, first book is What You Feel You Can Heal. Have you read that book?
No.
Yeah. Okay. It's What You Feel You Can Heal. It's the first book I wrote. It's like a 3-hour read. It's got cartoons in it. That's the beginning. Okay. So it's like everything you could learn that's good in psychology in university is in that book, and even more than you'd learn there. Okay. So we give it. I've done 1 million copies of it. I've given it to all the prisoners in the country. I would give it to kids in school as a coloring book. I mean, it's just been a wonderful awareness for people about understanding how to process feelings. Okay. So then there's a basic technique. Then there is, Laban, were you married before? Have you had a relationship before?
I've never been married. I've had girlfriends. My longest relationship was a year. And
and Anna, and what about you?
Yeah, I've been married before.
Okay, and how long were you married?
5 years altogether, but our relationship ended like 4 years after the marriage.
Okay, all right. That's the blessing of that is now I'm going to lead you to another book, which is called Mars and Venus Starting Over. And Mars and Venus Starting Over, it allows men and women to process the emotions that were created in that relationship. And for you, it was a great insight to realize this was your stepfather as well. But there's even deeper is the father who left your mother. Without going into the whole therapy session, that's a great book because it teaches people how to process their emotions. There's another book I wrote teaching processing emotions. Is some people think it's even better, which is how to get what you want what you have. What I find is that to attract more success in your life, you're moving along and then there's a block. Either you procrastinate or you're not achieving your goals. Then you have to look at, okay, how does that make you feel inside, the emotions, and link them to your past, and then process them, let them go, and it kind of opens a door for you to receive more, okay, more energy,
Yes.
success in your life.
I'm familiar with this book. So,
Oh, okay, you know that book.
yes. And I went through hypnotherapy that really
Okay, all
helped
right.
me open up.
So,
And I became a hypnotherapist. I also help
so
women
you're very aware. Okay,
process their emotions. I think it's more for Laban. He didn't really know how to behave himself, how to help me more.
In my weakest moments, more so than when I'm functional.
oh, okay. Well, let me stay with this for a moment, which is, was there ever any inappropriate sexual advances towards you, Anna?
Yeah.
So from stepfather, yes.
Two pregnancies and 2 illegal abortions from the abuse.
It's been going for 6 years.
Oh, you mean your stepfather? You have a pregnancy from him?
First 2 pregnancies at 15 and at 16,
Oh,
and
okay.
2 forced illegal abortions that damaged my reproductive system.
Okay. Well, I don't like to go deep into therapy because public might not understand, but I'm going to suggest, okay, is when you're making love, since you do so well, you give yourself permission to feel your anger at your stepfather. This sounds kind of weird. You have to understand therapy. And so when he is touching your breasts, which is your major oxytocin producer, or sucking on your nipples, this a therapist can't do, but your partner can do. Then you bring up the feelings of anger at your stepfather. And you basically say, I want to punch you. I hate you. I want to punch you. I want to hate you. Get out of my life. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. While you're in that most vulnerable state. Now, you should also, in my books, I teach the feeling letter technique where you write anger, sadness, fear, and regret, and what you want. So you know those tools. So those tools, you need to do that with your stepfather many, many times. But because it was sexual in nature, the abuse that you experienced, you want to be doing that. Once you learn how to do it on paper, then while he's making love to you, bring those feelings up, and he understands he's doing therapy on you. Okay, so let me tell you how I learned this technique. All right, because it makes have to understand that it's not every therapist doesn't understand this, but when a woman brought in a child who had been adopted, and the child had been abandoned, and as a result, when the baby was abandoned and found at the orphanage on the door, or at the church on the door. Okay, so this is a baby almost died, abandoned. And then when the baby grew up, you couldn't touch the child. Okay, if you touch the child will start to scream. So you don't touch the child, so I understand the way psychology works. What goes in has to come out. And before I tell you what I did to cure that in one session, I give you another example. When my daughter Lauren was 6 years old, we were at a resort, and it was a very safe place so she could wander around freely. And somehow it came up in a conversation, where she probably was bragging. My dad wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. She was very proud of me. And I was very famous at the time. And this woman heard little Lauren say this and said, well, your father's an idiot. He's a complete idiot. And so that happened. And then she came back to the hotel room to where I was, and she was red in the face. And she says, Daddy, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. And I said, well, what does it mean? What's an idiot? She goes, I don't know, but you're an idiot. That's an example that my children all felt very safe. They could express whatever they felt. But so it went in, it has to come out. Okay. So everything inside comes out. And so we want to let it come out one stage at another. But because this abuse is sexual in nature, one aspect of it, that it's all abusive, is when he's touching your breasts, to give yourself permission to remember your resistance to him and your hatred for him and your anger at him. And I want to punch you and I want to punch you. And you could even, at some point, you can go with how what works for you, but you can actually pull away and start hitting his chest. It won't hurt him, but to put it into physical punching, okay? And then you just, no. And
I think you underestimate Anna's strength, John.
well, don't do it too much then. But don't hurt him. But just, you want to put it into the power of no. And I hate you. And no, it's building that, it's that negativity that would have been there if you felt safe. Okay. Like, if somebody mistreated my daughter, she'd be furious and say, get out of my life right now. I mean, she feels so powerful because she had a father who never suppressed her emotions. She's quite a powerful girl, which can also lead to being judgmental. Don't treat me that way. So she doesn't default into nice always. It's like I put up a clear boundary. I know what I deserve and I don't deserve that. That's a challenge for you that you overcome by being able to assert your boundary. So when you're making love, what you're doing is that's just softening you up to remember who you were as a young child, which is vulnerable and soft with estrogen. And then this horrible thing happened. Give yourself permission to feel it and express it in the words. Since you started out with the breast, that's good. We'll just with the breast is a good, there's no more powerful way to do it. Now, what I used to do with my clients, with like this child who basically did not want to be touched in any way. The reason for that is that children need to be touched. Okay. Every child loves to be touched, needs to be touched. But if they don't get that touch, they go into denial because it's too painful and everybody does this, by the way. If you feel a need and you think I can't get it or you don't get it, it's too painful to feel I have a need and I can't get it. So then what the brain does is it goes into, well, if I can't get it, then I don't need it. It's not important to me. I don't want it. I have to push it down. That's that mechanism of pushing it down, which actually for men is not so bad because it builds testosterone. But for women, it inhibits estrogen. You have to push it down. So you want to give yourself this kind of a context of, I want to be able to feel how much I hate my stepfather and my anger at that and freely express it when I'm feeling very vulnerable, because you were very vulnerable at that time. So that's a big part of it. Then what you want to be able to do is, after you really get that out in your feeling letters, to be able to go from anger to then letting yourself feel the sadness that was so much disappointment, sadness that you felt, what you missed out on. And then all the fears that would come up around him. I'm afraid to be around you. I'm afraid to talk to you. I'm afraid to say no. I'm afraid to tell people. I feel so ashamed of myself. So then you have to feel the shame. So you want to just give yourself permission to feel these things. And shame is a hard one because you shouldn't feel ashamed. It's something, shame is always, you should feel ashamed, not me, but we end up feeling ashamed. Example for me is I've had millions of dollars that were, people lied to me and defrauded me and went to jail. Okay. But I admit that some guy fooled me and I was cheated out of millions of dollars. I feel bad. I don't want to tell anybody, then people will think less of me. And so this is the thing for children, multiply that times 10. If someone treats a child in a way that they should be ashamed of, the child ends up feeling ashamed. Yeah. So that's where you just let irrational feeling of shame. I'm bad. that happened to me and people find out, whatever. Just give yourself permission to feel it. Then you write the response, which is having that person, imagine them taking 100 seminars with me and saying, I understand why you're angry, understand why you're sad, understand why you're afraid, understand why you feel bad. It's not your fault. It's my fault. I probably never can make it up to you, but I'm so sorry. Maybe someday on your last breath, you'll forgive me, but it's my fault. I should suffer in hell for it. Just say the things that they really need to be saying to that child, and I won't do it again, and as if you're back at that time. Then if you imagine that, then you can imagine how I would have felt having someone say that. And after you're connecting with that part of you, which is very angry, and then you feel grateful that now it's over, and I'm happy I found, Laban, and I'm grateful in my life. So you bring it always back to the positive. That's the important part. But you got to dip into your power to say no, and that's a big part of the healing. And to do that, and just the fact that you can say, I hate you, and I want to punch you, and you're terrible. Stop, stop, stop. He has to know that you're just processing. Otherwise, he'll stop and think, why do you hate me? He's there to trigger those feelings for you. So this will help. And, he's your stepfather. What you have to realize is what happened with your real father? Where's that guy?
He just left our family when I was 4 years old, remarried, and didn't want to do it, to have, didn't.
Yeah, you see, that's the deeper one. Okay. So there's the rage that you have with your stepfather. You need to find that rage for your father. Where are you? And I'll give you an example. One time I was just away from home for 2 weeks. Normally I would be 3 days away. But one time I was paid a lot of money to go to a faraway place, China, and be gone 2 weeks with all the travel and everything. But they paid me a lot of money, so I did it. When I came home, I walked in the door, and little Lauren runs, Daddy's home, Daddy's home, Daddy's home, really happy I'm home. And she was 6 years old. And when she saw me, instantly her mood changed. She put her hands on her hips, her eyes turned red, and says, you were gone too long. Where were you? And then walked out of the room, okay, like really angry at me. Because, see, it wasn't until she got what she needed that the anger could come up, because it wasn't safe. If Daddy's gone, you want to be really good and everything. But once Daddy was there, now she could express the anger. And I just went to her room and said, oh, I'm so sorry, but next time I'm not going to do that. And I know you're mad at me, but I'll do my very best in the future to make sure I'm not gone so long. I didn't say, just for the parents listening, I didn't say, well, sometimes Daddy has to do that. That's how I make money, and so I have to go away. That would just tell her she shouldn't feel upset. You never want to tell to a young child too much logic to explain them as being irrational, but more of an empathy and understanding, and solve it with, well, next time we're going to do this. I'll make it up to you. That was my big thing with my kids, is always, if I was late, because I tend to be timeless, and I can be late, I would always, oh, I'm so sorry I'm late, and I'm going to make it up to you. And so the way I would make it up to them is do something special. Rather than feel like I have to feel bad, I would just say, oh, I'm so sorry. But rather than rationalize with the child, well, sometimes I work and I have to be there. Your dad has to make the money. I understand it's a disappointment to you, and you had to sit there and wait. So I inconvenienced you, so I want to make it up to you. And that's a key thing, is making it up, since I mentioned those subjects. So anyway, back to resources. I want to also mention toxicity. Now, all of this suppressed emotion and trauma in your life, it has inhibits your immune system, to detoxify. And we are all being poisoned by, what's in the sky, for example. There's toxins coming down from the sky. There's toxins in your food. There's toxins all around us, and the GMOs as well, and the bad diets. This is what we're finding out even more, is what they're putting in foods. They're killing us, basically. That's why sickness keeps going higher and higher. But there's a remedy for that. And the remedy is what's called detoxing. I don't know, have you done detox programs?
John, Anna did a 4-day dry fast at the start of last year, which regrew back her uterine wall from 3 millimeters to 12 millimeters in 1 month.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad everybody hears that. Everybody needs to understand that we need ongoing detoxification. I don't recommend a four-day fast, but it worked for you. 4-day fast. What was that?
Dry fast, no food or water.
No food, no water. I didn't have even a shower. but I was swimming in the ocean. And John, this is a topic very close to my heart, because the more I learn about toxins and hormones, I took my nails off. I used to put the acrylic nails. I don't use any creams.
Yeah, that's all toxic. Yeah.
Exactly. Very natural, organic cosmetic. Like I stopped drinking coffee. No alcohol. Very, very little. Like very, very rare alcohol. So it's very, and I'm glad you mentioned this.
Oh, so everybody really, we need to learn detoxification. And for hormone production, all these toxins can be summarized as they're called endocrine disruptors. Okay, this is proven. They interfere with all of your hormonal processes. That's what they're known for, endocrine disruptors. So we want a really good cleanse program that I believe in. And let me just ask you: do you have any extra pounds on your body?
I do, and it doesn't. Look at it.
Oh, he definitely doesn't. He definitely doesn't. Okay, all right. Well, it's a body type, but what I want you to know is that my office, I work with a team of people for a detox program that I'm recommending to people. And, our time's pretty much up, and you're going to ask me, well, how can people reach me and contact me? It's at marsvenus.com. And now at marsvenus.com, I have all these great courses. There's another course called Understanding Men, that it's a 6-week program for women only, but if they have a boyfriend or husband, he should do it with her. I think you'll love doing it. Have you done that? Did you do that one?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And then there's the Secrets of Great Sex one, which maybe you don't need, but it's really funny and it's good. Those are courses that are at marsvenus.com. We have great blogs. If you go online and search something called Soul Search, I do with this group of people, I do a 7 a.m. California time, a 1-hour guided meditation I do once a week. And they're healing meditations, so I think you'll enjoy that as well. As far as detox goes, I don't say anything about it on my website other than I have a place at the very bottom of the page where says contact us. If you put in a contact form that you would like to talk to one of our coaches, it's free. Our detox coaches, her name is Ellen. I've worked with her for 25 years. For me, it was a major part of my healing Parkinson's. When I turned 50, I'm 73 now, but when I turned 50, I had early stage Parkinson's. So rather than take the medicine that only makes it worse, I did a whole detox program of detoxing and then restoring the optimal brain function, and not knowing at the time that I was also restoring my hormone balance. I didn't understand the hormones then, but that's very important for making babies. So that there's that dynamic. So I would suggest go to that section, ask to talk to one of our coaches, and particularly Ellen's the best, and she'll contact you if you're interested in that. But I think
we'd like to include that in the notes for everyone as well, because it's really important. So the subject matter that I've spent thousands of hours on, because I had an autoimmune disease that I fixed through dietary change, and have interviewed some incredible people, John, that you would have heard of. So we are big fans of that.
Fantastic.
So amazing. You always bring so much value. Thank you so much. Before we go, do you have any concluding thoughts?
We live in a toxic world, and we live in a psychologically toxic world as well. The toxic world is women are constantly being told you don't need men. And then instead of understanding how to bring out the best in men, and because I've got a couple of minutes, those were my closing thoughts I just said, but I want to give you the hack that we didn't consider, which I think every day you want to practice. This is a few more hacks, which is Laban, 4 times a day, you always find her and give her the 6-second hug. That's 1. 2, a couple of times a week, she puts up 10 fingers, which means she's going to talk for 10 minutes, and she needs your full undivided attention while she processes feelings of frustration, disappointment, and concern that are not about him. It can be anything else. It could be politics. It could be work. It could be the doctors having to make appointments. Just that's frustrating, disappointing. But then you always end up with gratitude and appreciation. So he gets to experience a wave going down and coming back up. And then he anticipates that, and it gives him the energy to be really compassionate and empathetic. So that is the another hack. Another hack is every day. That's every couple of days. This is one which is five fingers up, which means I'm going to ask you. This is for Anna to say to Laban, I'm going to ask you to do something for me that will take less than 5 minutes. And it's going to be something that I could do for myself. But because you're going to do it for me with enthusiasm and excitement and immediate reactions, I don't have to do it. Okay? So it's going to, you see, what women are living in a world of I have to. And that they get into, it's like a momentum. So this is something that she doesn't have to do, that you're going to do for her. And she can ask you to do it. You could be watching your favorite sport. Hopefully you can put it on pause. You could be tired and exhausted on the couch. You could be busy doing work. And her job is to interrupt you while you're doing something where she normally wouldn't want to interrupt you. And just put her hand up. And then you stop. And you say, yes. What is it I can do? So it would be things like cleaning out the kitchen, emptying some trash. It could be going and getting oil in order to massage her feet for 5 minutes. See, it's always asking something for her. Make me a cup of tea, make my shake for me, set that up. And you want to vary it. You know, you want to just things that he wouldn't normally be doing for you because you can do it for yourself. You ask him, and during that time, you can't do anything for yourself. You just have to enjoy him doing that for you.
Dear John.
Let's ask Laban. You would be fine with that, right? Now that you know that's a big estrogen producer in her.
Anything that I can do to help this lady, she is an incredible, inspiring human being, John, and it's going to be my honor.
Oh, that's so good. Now you got the permission to do it, the 5 hands up. So the whole thing is really contingent upon women often don't want to bother us. And if you don't, so this is a chance to bother him, and his response is going to be just what he said. Anything I can do. And the last biohack, because my time is up, but this only takes 3 minutes. This is something you do every day at some point. It could be when you go to bed, it can be when you're busy in the day, it could be when he gives you a hug. And what you're going to say to him is, it's a script. And like people have affirmations and they repeat them over and over. So Anna's going to say to Laban, do you love me? And you're going to say, yes. That's it. You just say, yes, I love you. Then she's going to say, how much do you love me? And you're going to say, with all my heart. And then you're going to say, are you happy being married to me? You're married, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you happy being married to me? And he's going to say, I am so happy. Do you still think I'm beautiful? And then you're going to say, you're my angel. You're so beautiful. And that's the script. So right now, I want you to practice it do it for all of us listening.
I love it.
And sometimes women forget. So one of the things, Laban, you can do is say, let's do the reassurance exercise.
And let's do the reassurance exercise.
Laban, do you love me?
With all my heart.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. You start little and build up.
Okay, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
How much?
With all my heart.
Am I still beautiful to you?
Most beautiful woman in the world.
Are you happy to be married to me?
Every single day. I love it.
Did you miss anything?
Very good. Now, do you feel lucky to have me as your wife?
Do you feel lucky to have me as your wife?
Unbelievably so. I count my blessings every day.
Oh, I love you.
You feel that. It just, the love is there, but when you do this little exercise, you feel it more. That's the whole thing. So
I feel great now too.
Everybody feels, it's a huge surge of testosterone in a man, a huge surge of estrogen. It won't always feel the exact same because sometimes stress, we've had a nice conversation, but you still do it. And when you make love, you do it several times. Okay, so that's another thing. After you've beaten him up, then you could say, do you still love me after I beat you up? I love you so much. Am I still beautiful? Are you happy to be with me? Do you feel lucky to have me? Oh, another one is, am I the only one for you? Yes, you're the only one for me. Beautiful. And I'll tell you a little thing, although I don't have much time here, but one time my wife said to me, she said, do you love me more than Bonnie, my ex-wife. She said that. Do you love me more? And I said, sweetheart, because I was married to Bonnie for 32 years, I've learned so much, and healing my loss of her has opened my heart even more. So you're the lucky recipient of more love. So you're getting more love from me than even Bonnie could get. But Bonnie's always in my heart too. So she got to feel number one, because women need to feel number one. And just like every man wants to feel, I'm the guy and you're the woman. I'm the king, you're the queen. You know, it's like we all want to have that sense of number one. And for a man, directing his energy to her that way, it just keeps his testosterone up. And for her, keeps her estrogen levels up. But what happens over time in relationships, I just have to finish with this other great idea, is so many people lose. You're not in that place, but they lose a lot of the magnetic attraction because they're not having the polarity. This process puts you right in the polarity of feminine and masculine. And that's what's important, because there's something that occurs in men when they only have sex with their wives. When they only have sex with their wives, this is proven, they will produce a hormone called prolactin. If you have sex with somebody who's a stranger or someone who's new, or you have sex with yourself, any of those things do not produce prolactin. Prolactin is the ultimate hormone that frees you from sexual craving, but it also inhibits your sexual desire in the relationship because you feel so satisfied. You're bonded with your partner. So that's why couples who love each other often have less sex over time, now at 10, 15 years later. So what happens is if you want to continue having that passion, and everybody does, you maintain the polarity. So if you have prolactin, there's no addiction to sex with wandering eyes and whatever, because that's natural for men. But with prolactin, it inhibits your desire for sex. But if you have polarity in your relationship, then that creates a different kind of desire for your partner, which means when you get into bed, you may not be in the mood at all, but you get into bed, start hugging and kissing a little bit, and all comes. Just like if you put two magnets together, they're nice here, but then when they get close, that fire comes back. So this is how you maintain attraction for a lifetime, is polarity, because you no longer have the newness of which creates the honeymoon phase.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. John Gray.